Sharks fans. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, February 18th, 2020, and about an hour ago, the Sharks have traded Brenden Dillon to the Washington Capitals for 2 draft picks. And let's talk about it. Welcome to this special edition of Teal Town Live. I am Eric Curra. You can follow me on Twitter at PuckGuy14. Of course, this is live and interactive, and we want this to be a part of the show. So join us on the YouTube channel, on the page, or the app. Let's get the comments going. And like Jessica says, we all knew it was coming. And whirlwind of emotions as we get towards the deadline now. You can also follow us on the social using Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and of course our Discord channel. And of course, for more Sharks content, AJ's already put up an article about this. You can find more at tealtownusa.com. So with that, hi everyone. Let's break this down, shall we? We unfortunately knew that this was probably going to be happening very soon. I think Brenden himself knew that there was going to be a trade coming, that he was going to be highly touted at the deadline. And the Sharks, according to Pierre LeBrun of TSN, RDS, The Athletic, and networks not even named, looks like they got the price that they wanted. So we'll get into the parameters of it right here, right now, and that is the Sharks that's the wrong graphic. That's a little early there for that one. The Sharks acquire Brenden Dillon, the Capitals acquire Brenden Dillon. They have the Sharks retain 50% of his salary at this point with all the injuries going on. You can do that, hoping to land what they were hoping to see come about it. So Brenden Dillon's the only thing that's going over to Washington in return for that. In return, they get the 2020 second round pick. That's actually Colorado's pick that they got in the Barahowski deal. And an additional 2021 pick, the third round pick. If the Caps do win the Cup, they will send Arizona's third round pick for this year. So a little stipulation. We've seen that happen to come up in that form. So that's what the Sharks get in the trade for Brenden Dillon. What is your reaction to it, Sharks fans? As we could see, kind of looking on here as we bring it back over here. Beach Boys fans forever, MLP. Even though I knew it was coming, it still hurts. Yeah, it's a tough part. Jessica saying we all knew it was coming. Unfortunately, that's the case. That the Sharks expect. With the struggles that the team has had this season, we kind of knew this was going to be happening. Unfortunately, Marty T is saying, "Go get that cup, Dilly." Just another Randy G. My heart, oof. Yeah. It's one of those ones. Drew saying saying they couldn't get a prospect back. From what we've been told many times on the show, that this could be a deep draft coming in for 2020. So that might be a reason why they did take the place. Anthony Sanchez, sucks to watch the business side of the NHL. Yeah, and we saw it yesterday with the reaction to Brenden Dillon post-game getting a little choked up, and he actually had to walk away from it. So to reiterate again, there is a conditional third that turns into something else if the Caps win. Yes, instead of the Caps sending their 2021 third-rounder, they will send the 2020 third-round pick they've acquired from Arizona. So that's the next one. That's the condition for the trade as it is. Anthony Sanchez says, so who is next? Who is next? Is it Jumbo? We're starting to hear those rumors now. Melker Karlsson has been on the talk of trades as well going forward. So, Drew O saying Marleau is probably next. Would he go back to Toronto? That's an interesting one, So, 21 pucks. Vegas made a push, but I'm glad Washington beat to it. Much as I love Dilly, I would hate to see him in Vegas. Yeah, I mean, and the painful is, with everything that's happened between the Sharks and Vegas, that they would actually trade a player that can get them over the top. And I think that would be the most painful thing to see right now. And I know, I know Kevin Curtis has tweeted out that the worst case scenario would be that the Sharks get and give the number 1 overall pick to Ottawa, and the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. Still can happen, but they won't have Brenden Dillon to do that. He has been traded to the Washington Capitals this time. Lorianne, devastated. So it's a tough one, and it's a tough part of the business. And let's be honest, it's the tough part of reality here. You wonder if the Sharks pulled the victory off yesterday, winning 5 of their last 6 games, being maybe just 5 points out of the playoff spot, that they could make a stretch. But no, Brenden Dillon was such a hot commodity that somebody was going to grab him. So are we cheering for the Caps now? Let's wait until the trade deadline happens. Right now, that's the front runner for me. Would be cheering for the Caps and Brenden Dillon. Do it. Anthony Sanchez. The Sharks will be very weak on the blue line for the remainder of the season. Well, you're not wrong. I mean, you lose Carlson to a thumb injury. You have Brenden Dillon now gone. So what does it look like? You have Vlasic and Šimik, Burns and Ferraro, Heed and Middleton. Does Jake Middleton get called up for a bit? Does Dalton Prout get back into the lineup? We haven't heard much from him. He's been back in San Jose now. Felix, good day to you, sir. I'm not surprised that Brenden Dillon has been traded, but man, seeing that interview last night makes this even tougher. Well, Curtis Pashelka, and let's make sure we shout him out. Curtis Pashelka did talk to Brenden Dillon right afterwards and shot some video, and we'll play that for you.
Really excited. I can't wait to get out there. I mean, obviously the opportunity, the team, the group. What an opportunity, really.
Yeah, it's obviously been roller coaster of emotions. I mean, how have you handled this over the last little while?
It's been crazy. I mean, it really has. I got traded from Dallas to here, and that was kind of one of those you weren't really expecting it. And I think anytime a team is losing a few games, especially the way that the Sharks have had the culture here over the last my time 6 years here, it's almost been kind of Stanley Cup or bust for us. And, I think as you start to lose, and the Canadian swings there when you're going through a little bit more media, it ends up being more of the questions get raised to what's going to go on, especially being a pending UFA. It's kind of like if you're a team that's not really in the race, we've won 4 of our last 5 here with the Sharks, and we're still almost in the same position in the standings. So it's too tough to get back into the race of things. I think just mentally, it's guys can say it's you don't read this or don't read that, but it wears on you for sure. And I've just kind of tried to bring the lunch pail to work every day and do my job, and but definitely couldn't be happier to get going.
Yep, and so that was Brenden Dillon reacting to the trade that he's been traded to the Washington Capitals. Huge props to Curtis Pashelka from the Bay Area News Group for that video in hand. Chris saying, if the Niners can let Jerry Rice go, no player will ever be exempt. Exactly. You couldn't hit it. I mean, who remembers Jerry Rice in a Raiders jersey or a Seahawks jersey? Or for that matter, Joe Montana in a Chiefs jersey? It's weird to look at it. So, Beach Boy saying we hope to sign Dillon this summer. And that's the thing, too. It wouldn't be surprised, but that if he wins the Cup his price will go up big time. Can the Sharks do something about it? Yeah, they can probably maybe get after him, but the Sharks also have a limited cap space for sure. And this one, and season is lost. Dillon's gone now for something or later for nothing. Yeah, I mean the Sharks could have made a run and didn't make the playoffs, and then Dillon is lost, or you send like the Sharks did with Niemi a few years ago, send a 7th round pick and have them go to Dallas, where he and so one thing that Felix is saying, the silver lining for this trade is that the Sharks season is lost. We've all known that for a while. Zach Xander, this one hurts. The guy I love playing for the Sharks, play with a lot of heart, which can't be said for every player on the roster. That's a tough one to take, So that's interesting. We retained 50%, so not really freeing up much space to bring anybody else in. Was it just the USA status? Did they think they wouldn't sign? Another good question. Well, with all the injuries that the Sharks have right now going on, it puts them in a pretty good spot to where they can do something in the sense of taking on salary where they not normally couldn't, but only for this year. So, I mean, we could see something in the sense of you have a lot of these moves where they might retain salary from a guy that's being sent over to another one, and we have more breaking news, and maybe this is probably what happened just now. We have multiple reports saying that Alec Martinez has gone from Los Angeles to Vegas. The trade winds are blowing now, folks, and maybe because of this, because the Sharks didn't trade with Vegas, Brad McCrimmon called up Rob Blake and say, "Hey, how much for Alec Martinez?" Let's see. Pardon me looking at the phone here while I get this here. But let's see what we got. Pierre LeBrun, do you have this for us? No, he doesn't have that one. Where are we getting the source from this, guys? Let me know what you got going on in the chat. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. We usually do a show after every single Sharks game, and we appreciate you guys being on here at a strange time, live. It's 1:45 out on the West Coast, but feel free to follow us and subscribe on here as well. So, Chris and my good buddy Chris here. I remember people dumping on Dillon for 2 straight years to where I gave up arguing because everything he ever did wrong was get a storm of treats from people mad that Demers were gone. Yeah, but he has definitely flourished as a player. I think what the Sharks got in 2014 is a mass improvement over what he is leaving in 2020. So, Doug Wilson saw Dillon's interview after Monday's game and said it accelerated talks with other GMs. Interesting to see. And we're getting some quotes from Doug Wilson. This was a day that the trigger was going to get pulled. We worked the phones extensively. We knew exactly where every team was and set expectations. So we shall see here on. Let's go to TSN. Bob McKenzie. Of course, and this time of the year, you got to make sure you keep an eye out on those blue check marks. And here's the interesting thing. So we have a couple moves going on right now. Per Bob McKenzie, Vegas and LA are working to try to finalize a deal that would send Alec Martinez to the Golden Knights. Most telling sign will be if Martinez is in or out of the Kings lineup versus Winnipeg. So nothing official yet. Bob continues to go on Twitter and says, if this deal gets done, I would expect a likely return to be 2 second-round picks, Also note that Martinez still has 1 year left on his contract after this season. So you're not just getting you're not just getting the rest of this year, but you're also getting next year as well. So that might escalate the price that Vegas will pay to Rob Lake there. Another trade that's gone down in St. Louis. The Blues have acquired Marco Scandella from the Montreal Canadiens. We're getting details on that one here. So this trade that the Sharks have, and maybe there was something talked about with Vegas. Maybe there was something talked with St. Louis as well. But Scandella goes from Montreal to St. Louis in return for a second-round pick and a conditional fourth-round pick in 2021. It's also placed, Jay Bomeister on long-term injured reserve, and assigned Nico Mikola to the AHL team in San Antonio. So a lot of moves have occurred in a little more than an hour, and you have to think if the Sharks kind of triggered it. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. We'll continue on the chats. If anything comes up, by all means, let me know. As a Sharks fan living in BC, specifically Vancouver Island, I always looked up to Dillon. He is a great guy who plays with a lot of heart. It really hurts seeing him go. Yeah, and it's tough. Dilly has been one of the fan favorites. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest fans and president of the Brenden Dillon fan club is Rocket Backhander, one of our good friends on the Pucknologist. It's going to be a tough one, and that's the tough part about the sports. You get attached to some of these longtime players. What we talked about when Patrick Marleau left, or just to name a few, like we mentioned Jerry Rice or Joe Montana in other sports. When some of these well-known players leave, and not to put Brenden Dillon with probably like Brenden Dillon and Hunter Pence in a sense, that a fan favorite, very popular among the fans, and so yeah. So looks like you're going to be on the air all day, Eric. I'm glad I have the day off. I would be coming home from work right now. So DW continues said that nothing's set in stone yet, but Bugner said new pairs might be Shimmick, Burns, Vlasic, Ferraro, Middleton, and Heed. From a quote from DW, it's going to be a work in progress. DW said another D-man will be recalled. He didn't say who. So that's cool. Earlier today, Dylan DeMello kind of, I guess, we'll just blame it on DeMello just getting, the whole thing moving. He was sent from Ottawa to Winnipeg for a third-round pick. Winnipeg is in desperate need for defensemen, so that's a good one. Druo saying probably Carrick is the call-up. That's a thing. I'm sorry I'm going to get the name wrong, but Eurizidis 84. Can't believe we are sellers this season. Unbelievable. Yeah. That's how crazy this year has been. And let's be honest here. It was a nightmare for the training camp. The Sharks gambled with trying to bring up their guys up with the youngsters. They never materialized. It got late in the camp. PDB had to scramble to get the things going. Opening night, Erik Karlsson is out of the lineup because his lovely wife Melinda gave birth to their baby. And then it just started with a horrible October. Rebounded nicely in November, but then the coaching changed in December. January continued to struggle. They've had a little bit of bounce back here in February, but now no dice. Now everything is on like Donkey Kong. Alden Tanaka, good day to you, sir, my friend. Guess Kami is off the hashtag Packer watch. Yeah, I guess. So it's so weird to see. Per Caps PR, Brenden Dillon will get his number 4 in DC, so he'll be keeping that number. He also had it in Dallas as well. Chris saying it's a business side of things. I don't think anyone is happy to see him gone, but you don't get back into contention by being sentimental. Great point, Chris. Great point. Couldn't say it any better than myself. Because if you're sentimental, you're never going to move forward. You're always going to keep, well, I miss it. I miss it. I miss it. Well, you can't get back to it. You can't get back to being a Stanley Cup contender, and it pains me to say that we aren't a Stanley Cup contender this season. It's quite scary. So, we do have some other updates from Bob McKenzie on the Alec Martinez trade, and that is the Martinez will not be playing for LA tonight against Winnipeg. Not surprised, but I do not expect any official trade tonight. Best sense is that the two teams have agreed to terms, but no deal will be done until LA is back home tomorrow. And he reiterates saying that I would likely return would be two second-round picks. So that's what it seems like the price is going for right now. So, can the season end already? I've decided not to renew my season tickets. Just can't afford it anymore. It's tough, man. It's tough. And we see what, you do. So, do we trade Dell? Who knows? This could be the start, gang. And if you get a lot in return, it'll help. If DW can somehow get back into the first round, that might save him. That might save him among the fans. So, DW on what happens now with the deadline 6 days away. You never know. We're very open to things. We know we have much work we have to do. It's tough. He continues on seeing if there's some things that we can bring back, some assets or currency for us to use going forward. We'll see what the next week brings. So you're going to have a lot of things, and so it looks like DW is open for business. He is going to be a seller at the deadline. Tough to say and tough to do on a 4-game road trip that'll take him through much of the Metropolitan Division. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now for the San Jose Sharks and how much will it change by the time they get to New Jersey on Thursday. It'll be interesting to see what happens. As for the Sharks, again, if you're just joining us, Brenden Dillon has been traded to the Washington Capitals. The Sharks retain 50% of his salary. The Sharks do acquire a 2020 second-round pick that was originally belonging to Colorado. They also have a conditional 2021 third-round pick. However, if the Caps win the Stanley Cup, the conditional pick becomes Arizona's 2020 third-round pick that goes to San Jose. So for those playing at home, trying to figure out what do the Sharks have in 2020 for the draft in June, well, here's what you got. They have their own second-round pick. They have Colorado's second-round pick in the Dillon trade. You also have Philadelphia's third-round pick from the Justin Braun trade last summer. You have your own fifth-round pick. You also have Ottawa's fifth-round pick. That was part of the Mike Hoffman to San Jose deal. That's the one that sent Mikhail Bodker over to the Sens. Well, the Sens press box, let's be honest here. They also made 2 draft day deals at the end of last draft, and that was Pittsburgh's and Washington's 7th-round pick. So that's what you have going on for the Sharks in the 2020 pick. They say it's a deep draft. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. As for 2021, again, the Sharks do have their first. They don't have their second. So let's see what you say. Just another Randy G. Can you imagine making a longtime dude captain then trading him that year? Can't imagine that's not going to happen. Couture is not going to go anywhere. I can't see it. Plus, he's just recovering. He's not ready to to do it. There's no way they're going to trade Couture unless he agrees to it. And let's be honest here too. Couture is he's still injured, and he has a modified no trade. He can submit a list of 3 teams that he would accept a trade to. I can't see anybody doing that. And plus, he is under contract for quite a while. I mean, through at least 2026. So unless you completely go full fire sale and you're going to just gut the team to the point where, if you want to gut the team to the point where you're just starting with Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns and Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Evander Kane, you're not going to see that happen. Landy talked about it yesterday on After Dark. Hasso is a win now guy. That's why he allows Doug Wilson to spend all the way to the cap every single year. But as for the Sharks right now, they have a little over $8 million of deadline cap space. This is, of course, according to capfriendly.com. They have over $8 million of cap space, so they have room to, if they want to trade somebody and, retain salary or take on an a bad expiring contract, they can do it at this point. So, on a positive news, your eye is getting better. Yeah. Yesterday it was tough to wear sunglasses around the Shark Tank, but it's getting a lot better. Unfortunately, the bump is still here. We're gonna have to figure that out. Although the girlfriend is dying to poke it and drain it out, so we'll see on that. 21 pucks. I feel like they're better off leaving Cooch on the shelf, shut him down so he comes back 100% next season. Yeah, you could see how it feels for maybe a week or so, but as he explained it with Randy Hahn on yesterday's broadcast, he's a hockey player. He wants to get out there. As much as it would hurt to have him out, he wants to play. The tough part is that you don't want any more damage. And Patrick, you make a great point. It makes your organization look extremely toxic if you named someone captain, then traded that player in the subsequent season. Yeah, it's not. Let's get it out of the head, guys. And girls and everybody in between. There are absolutely no way that they're going to trade Logan Couture or anybody that has a modified no trade unless they're okay with it. Patty doesn't have a no trade with his contract this season. Jumbo, he's not going. He won't anywhere unless it's on his terms. Let's be absolutely real about that. So there's Sharky. He's out of here. He hasn't been moved. So, SB saying BS moved by Doug Wilson. This one hurts. Yeah, this one hurts, but it also hurt when we traded Jason Demers 6 years ago. So it's it's a trade that's gonna be rough, but it's also gonna be maybe a trade to get some assets back in. The Sharks need to redo their development system. Let's be real here, guys and girls and everybody else. There's not a whole lot in the Barracuda. There isn't one that's just knocked out and everything, so and Ryan Ellis saying Pavelski is nothing without Burns. Does Dallas want to trade for a guy that's got another 6 years on his deal? I can't see them wanting to do that. Is Brent Burns that much of a player that he can? Yeah. I mean, he signed up for $8 million for over till 2025. I mean, I could be here all day, which I wouldn't mind. But, the only cap space that the Stars have The projected cap space is $815 right now for Dallas. They're tapped out. They have $3 million for cap space. They're tapped out. They're not going to do anything, you know. So, you know, no. And of course, I see the argument with Carlson and Pavelski. Pavelski's a Dallas Star. You know, yeah, it hurts that he's no longer with the Sharks, but Pavs is a star. He has a no movement clause. You know, so you can't bring him back unless he says okay. So, you know, it's not going to happen for Pavelski. The Sharks, while they have enough space now to make it work, who knows if they have the space for it down the road. You know, so and Erik Karlsson, let's be honest, he's your leading point scorer for now. You know, I'm sure Burns will take over it eventually before the season ends, but my goodness. You know, Patrick Tyler saying, and that's another thing, you know, after 2020, they'll have 3 of the same defensemen in Merkley, Burns, and Karlsson, LMAO. Who's to say Burns will be around? You know, I'm not saying that he's going to go now, but, you know, we have to move forward. You know, and the way that the team was built around Burns getting the shot to the point. Pavs would take the pucks. You gotta kind of eventually change it. And let's be honest here. We knew that all that play was happening all the time, and when it worked. But you also have to evolve. You have to evolve in the sense of that, you know, eventually people are going to catch on. Just like everybody caught on to, you know, running the puck around to Joe Thornton on the power play. You know, everybody knew that everybody was trying to get the puck to Joe. So what did they do? They would here, we'll give the puck to Joe. Who are you going to pass it to? You know, so we'll see. Just another Randy G. Do you see San Jose getting a first this year? Because I don't see it. I think honestly, Brenden Dillon was probably their best player to get that. So, you know, honestly, I thought if anything, they would have gotten Dillon that one first rounder. If they did that, then, you know, DW would have been looking great. So we'll see. From the Hockey News, Matt Larkin, a second and third round pick for a stay-at-home defenseman was a fairly steep price, but that doesn't matter for an all-in Capitals squad. Yeah, I mean, the Sharks were all in last year when they got Gus Nyquist, and Gus, miss you, buddy. You wore that 14 proudly. You know, so I think anything that goes that the Sharks let go now between now and next Monday at noon, or let's be a little bit after 12 noon, probably not going to get the same return for just one payment. So, you know, and if a first round pick had been acquired for Brenden Dillon, you know, it would have been, just another Randy G just said, would have been a disgusting overpayment for Dillon, especially if it didn't work on that one. So bring Nyquist back. I wish. So, you know, so 1 second. Sharky is trying to run away here. You want to leave? No, you can't leave. You have a no trade clause, buddy. You have a no trade clause. Unless you list send me a list of 3 rooms you would like to go to. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. You know, so if you get something, it's great. Now, that being said, the Sharks now have 2 round picks in this draft. Wouldn't be surprised if DW uses one of those picks and maybe one of his later picks in the draft to move up a couple of picks and get back into the first round. But it'll be a late first round pick. Let's be real. Or you have a desperate team that will go on. Amanda, you can't have Sharky. No. How holy that side profile. Oh yeah, you like that? Yeah, I would. Yeah, sure. Jerk would want Nyquist back. He's not the only one, Felix. Come on now. So, with that, I think we will wrap this special edition up unless something happens. I'm like trying to wait and see. It'll be funny if, in an hour or so, AJ and I are back on with Joe Thornton being traded or something. So we'll see about that. So with that, we will leave with you. Of course, if you want to watch this or check this out again, check this out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, said the wrong ones. Those don't exist anymore. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it, you love it, and always available at tealtownusa.com. So we will, hello. Oh, it could be over here, or it could be over here. And no, I'm not Ian Blogs Hockey. So we'll be back with you, maybe. It might happen tonight, could happen tomorrow. We are scheduled to be back on the air Thursday following Sharks and Devils. That's 8 p.m. start in Newark, New Jersey. So to reiterate one more time, Brenden Dillon is now a Washington Capital. Half of his salary stays in San Jose. The Sharks acquire 2 picks, including the second-round pick in this year's draft from Colorado and a conditional third-round pick in 2021. So that'll do it for us. Appreciate you joining us. We'll keep you posted on anything else comes about, and we'll be jumping back on again if anything warrants. This just in... No, it's cold out there. No. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. Check out tealtownusa.com. Keep an eye on our social media where we will continuously update you on everything. And if news breaks, we will be on the air. So thank you very much for watching. And until next time, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We will see you soon.